having a bit of trouble trying to find a new movie to do for WTF Cinema, because it takes a very special kind of movie. Because a bad movie just isn't enough. It has to be continually bad. And there have been a lot of movies that were bad, but not quite bad enough to warrant a full WTF Cinema review. So I've had to watch a lot of bad movies lately. In one case, I saw a movie so disturbing it may stick with me for the rest of my life. I can't do a WTF Cinema vid because I'd have to see it again. Luckily, whenever I hit one of these dry spells, I can always turn to Japan. This is Tomie. Now, I've actually done a very tiny amount of research on this one. So it turns out Tomie is well, I don't know if it's very popular. Tomie is a manga in Japan. I don't know how popular or how long running it is, but apparently it was popular enough to warrant a movie. I haven't read this manga. I don't intend to read it, since I don't generally read them, or know how to pronounce them. But I'm hoping that that won't impact my viewing of the movie. You see, I firmly believe that cinema should be a self-contained medium. When you're creating a movie version of any kind of comic book, manga, TV series, anything, it should be so that a person who's never heard of it before can watch the movie and still get the full experience, while people who are more involved or invested in whatever backstory this adaptation came from get a little bit more out of it. But somebody like me, who knows next to nothing about Tomie, should be able to watch this movie and know what the hell is going on. That's how movies should work. I'm saying all of this in an attempt to avoid the comments on YouTube being, "Listen, you fat moron, if you'd read the books, then you'd know." I'm aware it won't work, but I had to try. Our movie opens with what sounds like a blender trying to work through some toxic sludge. This is what we movie experts call a bad sign. But the first real image of the movie is of a nervous boy carrying a sack down the street. A sack he is very protective of. And inside that sack is apparently a living head. Alright, I take back what I've said so far. This movie is awesome. And now we meet the hero of our film, Tsukiko, and two of her friends, one of whom is a complete bitch for absolutely no reason and then just walks out of the movie never to return. Don't want to explore that backstory, I guess. Tsukiko and her friend are apparently some kind of photography students and really enjoy taking pictures of themselves. That's right. Even before social media existed, people were still taking selfies. And now we get to see one of this director's two fetishes. First of all, he hates framing shots so you can actually see the characters, but more importantly, he loves showing you only the boring side of telephone conversations that have zero impact on the plot. There's a couple of times where you spend a couple of minutes watching a character talk on the phone, but you're getting the, yeah, no, I can do that. Yeah, alright. Oh, no, Wednesday's bad. Yeah, Thursday's fine. Alright, talk to you later. Bye. Whoa. What's the point of that? If you're not going to show us both sides of the conversation, and the conversation is not going to have anything to do with the plot, what the hell are you doing? Were you short on running time? My guess is that the actor actually got the call while she was in the middle of shooting the scene, and the director just rolled with it, because it's the only thing that makes sense. And this scene is exactly what I'm talking about when I say he can't frame a shot with the characters in it. Tsukiko talks to her landlord, who tells her that this new guy has moved in next door. At no point in this conversation can you see the landlord's face. 90% of the scene takes place all the way up a flight of stairs off in the distance, so you can't see either character's head. I know in movies like Jaws and Aliens, it was super dramatic the way they hid parts of the creature from us, so that when they revealed it, we could be properly horrified. Although in both cases, it was actually more a matter of not having the budget to make the creature horrifying. So they showed us bits and pieces to make it look more convincing. But it worked out, and it made it super dramatic. But you're not supposed to do that with every character in your movie! We cut back to our nervous man from the beginning of the movie, who has an eye patch, so we know what we're going to call him. Now, the movie's going to take a really long time to tell us this, but we're going to safely assume that Eye Patch and his head in a box are the new next-door neighbors to Tsukiko. So he's currently feeding the head in the box some yogurt. How does that work? Does she have like a little stomach hanging at the bottom of the stump? Or does she just like the taste of yogurt and it just slides through and the head's sitting there in a giant pool of yogurt? I really want to know. At one point in the feeding process, a cockroach climbs into the box. Tomie, because that's what I'm assuming the head in the box is, eats the cockroach and then immediately spits it out along with some green gunk. Eye Patch finds this hilarious. Seriously, his reaction to this is never in my life have I ever found anything as funny as Eye Patch finds Tomie eating and spitting out a cockroach. I'm honestly a little jealous. The next scene takes a long time, but essentially it exists to tell us that Tsukiko is undergoing hypnotherapy to try to help her cope with some accident that happened 3 years earlier. An accident she has no memory of. Dun dun dun! As we take 5 minutes watching Tsukiko bike home, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the Tomie theme song. At first, I thought it was as cheap and stupid as the rest of this movie. And then it popped into my head a couple days later. And it stuck there, and I realized this song's actually kind of perfect for the movie. It might be the best thing in the movie in terms of trying to accomplish its message. See, the melody's fairly simple, and you're going to remember it pretty quickly, but what really sells it is the vocal track. The vocals have been distorted to sound metallic or insect-like, and you can tell that they're speaking English, but you can't quite make out what they're saying. You can catch a handful of words: if you, I, if you, I, and I don't know what the rest of it is, but the fact that it's just on the edge of understanding, that I can almost make out the rest of the words, really sells the creep factor. Because I think we've all had nightmares where it's just like, what are you saying? In terms of actually making this a genuine horror film, which I think is what the director was trying to do, the theme song may actually be the most effective part. That night, Tsukiko's boyfriend makes her dinner, and she starts taking pictures of it, and she says it's for school. Clearly, she's just waiting for Instagram to exist, because what school requires you to take 5 or 6 photos of your dinner without changing angles or lighting? Her boyfriend yells at her to stop being stupid and stop taking pictures and just eat. I made you this food, how about we just eat it? So she gets really quiet, and she eats a couple bites and then goes, "It's delicious!" She just barks. It's weird. It is just... And really, in real life, if that happened, you would expect that to lead to a giant fight, because then it's, all I was asking you to do was to share this meal with you. I don't know why you have to be a bitch about this. But apparently he's used to her weird passive aggressiveness, and this bizarre outbreak goes completely unremarked. They're interrupted by another pointless phone call that does nothing but eat up time. Look at this! We never know who she's talking to, what the phone call is about, what happens as a result of it, and it just randomly cuts off in the middle. What's the point of this? While reviewing tapes of Tsukiko's hypnotherapy sessions, the doctor is surprised to hear her mention the name Tomie. Which really shouldn't be that surprising for the doctor, since she was there when the tapes were made. Anyway, now we have Tomie's name in the movie. At this point, a cop shows up to the doctor's office. He's investigating an accident from 3 years ago. Now, it actually takes a long time and several scenes to get all of this exposition from the cop. But you're not watching the movie, you're watching me review the movie, so I'm going to condense down a couple of scenes here. We learn that a mysterious girl named Tomie transferred into this school. Immediately, 4 boys in her class killed themselves, and the rest ended up going insane. One of the boys eventually murdered Tomie, but her body was never found. The boy who murdered Tomie? Tsukiko's high school boyfriend. Not the one she's living with now. the guy she was with in high school. But he couldn't be convicted because they couldn't find a body, even though there were witnesses and testimony. I guess he hid the body well enough that he couldn't be convicted. Maybe Japanese justice is different from American justice. Anyway, what's even weirder is that this is not the first case of Tomie being murdered and her body never being found. Apparently, going back years and years and years and years, back to a different era. He mentioned some Japanese... it goes back a long way, is what I'm saying. Generations. There's stories of Tomie shows up to school. The boys go insane. The boys kill themselves, each other, and eventually one of them kills her. Because as soon as they see her face, they all fall madly in love with her. Because her face is so gorgeous, it drives men crazy. Then she's murdered, but her body's never found, and then she shows up a couple years later somewhere else. This cop has only this picture with Tomie's face scratched out, and he's eager to find her and solve the mystery. Jesus, that's a lot of information. The cop dumps it all on the doctor, and she gives him nothing in response. I don't think that's why people have a problem with cops. I mean, maybe it was different in the 90s and in Japan, but nowadays people don't hate cops for smoking. Meanwhile, Tomie's body has grown a childlike body, which is kind of creepy. And Eye Patch is madly in love with her, which makes it extra creepy. We also get just a tiny fraction of Tomie's personality here, where she knocks stuff off and throws a hissy fit, and then the second the guy reacts, she starts crying and hugging him. Alright, so she's wildly mercurial and cannot be predicted. Good to know. We then cut to Tsukiko's boyfriend, who is apparently having an affair with Tsukiko's non-bitchy friend. This scene spends a lot of time talking about like his band that he's in and his hopes for the future. Honestly, the only point of this scene is to establish the affair and get us some boobies. Because even in a Japanese movie, if it's a horror film, you gotta have boobies. In one of Tsukiko's many brief nightmares that I've avoided telling you about, she sees a photo of a young woman marked Demon Girl, before experiencing the slowest and least horrifying jump scare in recorded human history. I promise you, you are ready for this. See, we all knew that a hand was going to reach out of the water. We just didn't know it was going to do it so slowly. And now Tomie is full grown, but we still don't get to see her face. That face that inspires insanity and murderous love. Tomie decides that it's time to break up with Eye Patch. So he starts crying. So she throws a cup of nail polish remover in his face and laughs and laughs. Then she cuddles up to him and apologizes and says, "Oh, that must hurt." Okay, chick is terrifying, but I've known women exactly like her. Tomie then gets a job at the same restaurant that Tsukiko's boyfriend works at. This is going to end well. Apparently, before she broke up with him, Tomie had Eye Patch murder one of her former classmates. I wasn't going to bring it up because it doesn't really go anywhere, but then you'd miss this scene, this amazing scene, when Eye Patch is taken in to be interrogated. Okay, that's police brutality. Wow, suddenly American police don't seem so bad. Back at the restaurant, the men are all starting to turn on one another. Looks like old Tomie's working her magic. That night, as Tsukiko's boyfriend is sitting alone in the restaurant, Tomie comes back to seduce him. She turns off the light, so we can't get a good look at her face, because remember, her face is so gorgeous that if we were to see it, we would be driven mad with desire and lust, and then we would have to kill her and behead her. And the next morning, we see that everybody who worked at the restaurant has murdered each other, except for Tsukiko's boyfriend and Tomie. Apparently, they all killed each other because she was so gorgeous. For no discernible reason, Tsukiko decides to go into Eyepatch's apartment. She was just walking down the stairs and the door was a little ajar, so she goes in and starts looking around. She sees half-eaten food everywhere, she finds a couple of kids' toys, and then in the bathroom she finds the murdered body of her friend. The second she sees her friend in the bathroom, the landlord comes in behind Tsukiko and starts drowning her in the sink, telling her that it's wrong to go into other people's apartments. This is easily the most bizarre moment in the film. I have no idea, A, what he was doing there, B, why he waited for her to go into the bathroom and find the dead body, and C, why he jumped out and drowned her. I mean, we can assume that he was around Tomie once or twice and driven mad by her beauty, and that's why he's just killing people? I guess? I don't know. And I'll never find out, because after he successfully drowns her, she stops moving and just starts having all these weird images and flashbacks. He laughs, and then he leaves the movie, never to be seen again. Tsukiko wakes up after being drowned, because, you know, it was only a light drowning, and finds herself tied to a hospital bed face to face with Tomie. Now, if you're wondering how she survived the drowning, or how her body was moved from the apartment to the hospital, I hope you're ready for disappointment, because we never know. It's never explained. But we do finally get to look full in the face of Tomie. The face so gorgeous, it causes murder and insanity and instant infatuation. And that face is... meh? I mean, I guess she's cute. Personally, I think Tsukiko's more attractive. And normally, that wouldn't be an issue for the movie. I mean, you know, individual opinions on beauty, and also beauty not being the only defining characteristic of a woman. But the movie has spent an hour telling me how beautiful Tomie is, and how men go nuts at the sight of her and fall in love. And by the way, it has to be at the sight of her, because her personality ping-pongs back and forth so much, there's no way that can be remotely attractive, and I dig crazy chicks. So I'm told for an hour how her beauty will dazzle me, and what I get is, you know, cute chick, weird eyes, kind of a letdown. Tomie finally reveals to Tsukiko the entire purpose of this movie, and it all comes back to that accident 3 years ago that Tsukiko's been getting flashes of. See, Tomie transferred into this new school, and she and Tsukiko became best friends. Then all the boys in the class fell in love with Tomie and started killing themselves or each other for her love, and Tomie stole Tsukiko's high school boyfriend. Tsukiko was not happy about having her boyfriend stolen and started passing out pictures of Tomie with the words Demon Girl scrawled on them. She's handing them out to everybody. Then, Tsukiko's high school boyfriend killed and beheaded Tomie. Tsukiko was really upset about the whole Demon Girl thing, though. So, she's stolen Tsukiko's new boyfriend to get back at her. Because that's how you react when somebody does something mean to you, and in response to you stealing their boyfriend, you steal their new boyfriend. This entire horror movie is based off a couple of chicks being high school bitches to each other. Tomie doesn't seem to care that she was beheaded. She voices no ill will to the guy who killed her and beheaded her. No, it's that bitch who passed out pictures of me calling me a demon. You know, I'm an unkillable demon who causes chaos and confusion and murder everywhere I go. But calling me names really hurts. The next 10 minutes of the movie are just Tomie being weird. She goes through Tsukiko's purse. She talks about how Tsukiko's got such a great life, and how her feelings were so hurt, and how hard it is to be an unkillable demon who keeps getting beheaded by men. And then, finally, Tsukiko's boyfriend stabs Tomie and then beheads her. Tsukiko ditches Tomie's body in the woods somewhere and then runs to a boat dock for no reason I can imagine. And then Tomie shows up to confront her. Having grown a whole new body or reattached to her body somehow, I don't know. Previously, it took like a week or two for Tomie to grow a body from scratch. And now she's back in full force like an hour later. And I'm still not sure why Tsukiko went to a boat dock. The two girls have a discussion at the boat dock and decide that they're best friends. And they laugh, and they giggle, and they have fun. Because, you know, you're an unkillable demon who keeps stealing my boyfriends, but you know what? You've been beheaded twice, so it's fine. We can be friends. It's so funny. And then Tsukiko sets her on fire with a flare. Where did you get the flare from? Dunno. How does a single flare set an entire Tomie body on fire? Dunno. We're almost at the end of this, though, so I'm getting tired of asking these questions.
Bye-bye, Tomie.
The next day, while developing pictures she took of herself again, Tsukiko notices a mole on her face that was never there before. It's a mole in the exact same spot where Tomie had a mole. And then Tomie's head comes into the picture, revealing that Tsukiko is also a Tomie. I guess. I don't know. I don't know! What the hell?! We've established she had a whole life, and then she and Tomie were friends, so she can't be Tomie. Because the cop had a picture of everybody in that class, and there was Tsukiko and there was Tomie. So they weren't. This is not a Tyler Durden situation. But now she's got the spot, so she's a Tomie, except guys don't go nuts around Tsukiko. Her boyfriend is able to cheat on her quite happily, which means she can't be Tomie, because when guys see Tomie, they instantly fall in love with her meh face, and they grow utterly devoted to her. You can't cheat on Tomie, because you're addicted to Tomie. But you can cheat on Tsukiko, so Tsukiko can't be Tomie. I don't know what the hell this ending is trying to tell me, other than just being a bullshit horror twist ending that doesn't make any kind of sense in the context of a film that honestly lacks sense in a lot of places. I left out a bunch of little tiny subplots because they made no sense. There was a scene where Tsukiko's bike got torn up. We never find out who did it or why. Just happened. The cop and the doctor end up having several scenes together where the cop reveals all the information that I gave you about Tomie being this mysterious creature that goes back long into history, and she always shows up and gets beheaded. And the doctor just keeps saying, I'm not interested in this stuff. You're giving me nonsense. Stop talking to me or I'll sue you. The entire relationship between the cop and the doctor is, you know what else is fascinating about Tomie? Oh my god, shut up! I don't want to know! I don't care! That's the whole relationship throughout the movie. This movie, it's bizarre. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it fails to deliver on the basic premise of, oh my god, so gorgeous I must kill. But this movie does give us one thing. 4 sequels. Oh yeah! This is a franchise, baby. If I can't find any other good WTF cinema movies, there's always gonna be Tomie. God help us all.